Hi there, my name is Richard. I'm a psychotherapist at Psychic Plumbing. I'd like to talk to you today about anger. Now, anger has a pretty bad rap. In fact, I bet some of you would even say, I don't get angry. Really? You never get angry? Do you ever get frustrated, irate, furious, aggravated, resentful? So what do people do when they feel angry? Well, what a lot of people do is they take that anger out on other people. And by take it out, I mean literally, they take that anger and they go, Rah! And they push it onto someone else. And they could push it onto them with words, or they could push it onto them with violent actions. And of course, when you feel angry inside and then you take it out on someone else, well, there's going to be a period that feels really good. It feels really good to hurt them, especially if they've done something wrong. But the problem with expressing anger that way and expressing it with violence is that there are consequences. Most of the time, it's not like in the movie where you can sock someone in the chin and they'll fall over and then you walk off, probably with the girl. Usually in the real world, you sock someone in the chin and either they come and find you again with their mates, or they go and find the police and then the police come for you and want to know what was going on. So, I mean, it's always an option to whack someone in the face or, to be violent with someone, but you have to understand that it comes with consequences. And most of the time, those consequences, I would say, are going to be negative consequences. So, what are some other strategies for handling anger? Well, something that a lot of people do is rather than getting angry with the outside world, is they take their anger and they turn it inwards. And they become really angry with themselves. And while they might never be able to imagine themselves beating someone else up, they become really super expert at beating themselves up. So another thing that people can do is they can kind of pretend that there's no anger there at all, that everything is fluffy clouds and bunny rabbits. Put a smile on their face like this. And, well, where does the anger go when people pretend it's not there? Does it just disappear? I would say not. I would say that when I pretend that I'm not angry, that anger kind of is around me like a cloud. And so then when I meet someone else, they kind of feel a bit grumpy in my presence, or maybe even worse, especially if they've got anger issues themselves. It's like my repressed or ignored anger kind of resonates them to become angry themselves, and maybe even I see myself as a victim of other people's anger and aggression. So ignoring your anger, really not such a good idea. What is a good idea is to have ways of acknowledging when you are feeling angry, and strategies for handling that anger so that you're not kind of keeping it inside where it's going to fester and go bad, and equally you're not going to express it willy-nilly on the outside in a way that's going to make it difficult or dangerous for people around you. So for that, we need some ways of responsibly expressing anger in the moment as we feel them. And this is what I'd like to introduce you to today. So what is it that you feel like doing when you get angry? Do you feel like sitting quietly, going for a nice calm walk? Probably not. Do you feel like screaming and shouting? Do you feel like hitting? Do you feel like throwing? Do you feel like tantruming? Do you feel like stomping around? My guess is if you were to take off your good adult act, my guess is that you would actually really quite like to do those things. And so in these anger meditations, what we do is we facilitate you to take off your good adult act and create a permission and a safety to do just those things. So what we've got here is on the x-axis, that's time, and on the y-axis that is intensity. When you start off the anger meditations, in terms of the intensity of the anger, you may well be right down here. You can start doing these anger meditations when you're feeling perfectly happy. It could be that you're right up here, but let's say for the time being you're starting off down here for a standing start. When you start doing the anger meditation, it might actually take a while for you to get into it. And then what might happen is it's kind of like by going through the motions, you may well hook into some of that trapped anger inside. And so then from here, you might find that you become more angry. And you keep on doing the meditation until you kind of plateau and you're at full anger intensity. And then the idea, ideally, is to carry on going until that anger energy kind of falls away like that. And in my experience, kind of this is the shape of the curve really, starting somewhere, moving up to some kind of peak, carrying on that peak level, and then when it's finished, it just kind of falls away. A really awesome way of expressing your anger, especially if you're feeling a bit fighty with it, and you want to punch someone, you know it's not the right thing to do, is to get yourself some boxing gloves and to punch at some pads. This is something I use all the time in the therapy room. And the coaching that I give my clients is, number one, you're responsible for your wrists, because there is a bit of a risk to your wrists, so you don't go absolutely mad on this. And the second one is not to be a boxer. The idea really is to just get into the swing of it and then let it go until all of that anger has really moved. So this is a really good one if you've got that kind of punchy energy, but you haven't got someone to hold some boxing pads for you. All you need to do is either get some cushions or some sofa pads on the floor, or even better, set yourself up on your bed, and you're gonna hit this. And the way you're gonna hit this is by coming up, opening your chest right out. You probably can't see me very well, but opening the chest right out, lifting the arms up, and then coming down like that, with the forearms onto the pad, or with forearms onto your bed, and then you can repeat. So you can come up, breathe in, and down, and up. And this one you can really get into. So you might start off with a few big ones like that, and you might think, this is just not happening. You might start to get really frustrated with the whole exercise. And the thing then is to take that frustration and move it into the exercise. So you might be like, I'm just not feeling it. Richard's so annoying for suggesting such a silly thing. It's just not doing anything. And now I'm really getting frustrated with it, and now I'm going to move that frustration into the exercise. And I might even shout or chew down, and I'll be like, until I'm really moving the energy, and then I'm spent, and it's moved through me. And I'm either going to be left feeling calm and maybe relaxed, or maybe I'll start to feel a bit sad and maybe even a bit tearful. And that would be the idea. It's remove the protective anger and free yourself up so that the other emotions can feel safe enough to come to the surface and to be expressed. Now, if you're in the middle of the countryside, You can shout and you can scream your head off with no consequences. I don't live in the countryside. I live in the East End of London. I've got people above my therapy room. I've got people walking past outside. If I and my clients start shouting and screaming in here, then pretty sharpish someone's going to be either complaining or they're going to be thinking that something untoward is happening in the room, and they might call the police for our own safety. And who can blame them? So if we're going to move this anger energy vocally, what we need to do is we need to have a way of making it quieter so that you can put all of your energy into making the sound without worrying about these potential consequences. So for that, we use the howl towel. I'm going to fold the howl towel over a couple of times to form a pad. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this pad to catch my howl, my scream, my whatever it is. So I'm going to start with my feet shoulder width apart, so I bend in the knees, so I've got a good groundedness down there. And I'm going to take a couple of breaths. And the idea here is really is not to scream from the throat, which is going to hurt your throat, but rather to get a howl to come from deep inside the belly. Either way, if you're a professional singer or you absolutely positively must have an okay voice the next day, this is probably not the exercise for you. But if you're okay with potentially being a bit husky, then this is a really great one. So I'm going to take a couple of breaths, and they're going to be belly breaths, so kind of from deep down in my belly. And then after I've taken those couple of breaths, I'm going to allow, the idea is to really allow the angry feelings to brew, if possible, in the belly, and then just kind of let them come up and come out and to be captured by the howl towel. So here we go. Something like this. And repeat. And repeat until that anger energy builds up, is expressed, and then falls away. And if you haven't got a towel handy and you still can't like howl full out loud, you can do a silent scream. It looks something like this. It's not quite as effective as howling into the towel, but it kind of gets you part of the way there. Another thing that I've been shown that I think works pretty well is kind of hiss. If you imagine you're an animal with talons and you want to really show your teeth and show your claws, imagine a cat having a cat fight and they hiss. Well, it could look something like this. Very quiet, but it has that intensity, that intensity to it that allows the anger to come through. Another thing that you can do with a howl towel is fold it up and use it to twist. Now, it's pretty handy because you can put all of your force, all of your anger energy into twisting the towel, and really it's not going to hurt anyone or anything. So if you get that anger and you just want to wring someone's neck, then instead of wringing someone's neck, you can wring the howl towel. The last thing that towels are really good for is throwing. If you start throwing the glass to the other side of the room or throwing your plates to the floor, unless you're Greek and that's your thing, then there's consequences to that. Whereas if you take your towel and you throw your towel and you can throw it into a chair to catch it, something like that, then that can be really a really good way of expressing a kind of throwy type energy. So let's get a few more towels. And let's have a go. Take that! And that! You get the idea. This last meditation is what I call a tantrum meditation. Now, to do this, you really need to be on your bed because, as you'll see, my setup here with the cushions really isn't good enough. This is particularly good for anger that goes right back to your infancy. Those times where you were in your cot and you just couldn't get out and you were just raging. Now, there are very few situations in real life where that kind of out of control raging is welcome. So, as ever, we create the safety and the permission to have that rage and that tantrum happen in the safety of your bedroom. So what you're going to do, you're going to lie back on your bed and you're going to get into the kind of sense of hitting with your arms, kicking with your legs, and you can really get into this one. The tantrum meditation. Far better than doing it in the supermarket. One of the reservations that some people have about working with the anger meditations is they'll say, well, you know, I've just got nowhere to do it. When I'm at home, my partner's around or my kids are around, and so I don't want to traumatize my partner or my kids by being angry in the house. So what I normally suggest if the person's coming to me on their own is that they go home and they start to talk about anger and the anger meditations that I've suggested with their partner, and ideally demonstrate those techniques in the presence of their partner, and maybe even get their partner to join in, kind of take it in turns, one being the supporter or the encourager and the other one being the person who's doing that expressive meditation or exercise. And that way, if there's then some kind of argument playing out between partners, rather than getting into a slagging match between each other, if one of you notices that there's that anger energy, you can proactively say, I'm going to move my anger now. And you can either leave the room or do it within the room and take all of that anger that you may be feeling towards your partner in that moment and move it into the howl towel, or move it into the boxing pads or the cushion on the bed. And once that anger has moved, then come back to the discussion. And now it's a discussion again rather than an argument. Ideally, both partners can do that, but really it only takes one. Same if you're having some kind of issue with your kids and you're noticing that your kids are starting to really annoy you and wind you up, and your temptation is to tell your kids to do all of those things that you were taught when you were a kid, like to get a grip of yourself, control yourself, be quiet, calm down. Well, hold on, weren't all of these the things that ended up containing the anger in the first place and turning it into frustration and yeah. So if your kids are pissing you off, don't take it out on them. Take it out on the cushions, take it out on the towel, move the anger, and then come back into the relationship with the kids. And you never know, they may have magically calmed down when you move the energy in the system. If they haven't, maybe it's not pissing you off as much. Or if it is still inappropriate, maybe you can find a different way of engaging with them so that something more useful learning comes out of the situation.